Welcome to Rick's Room. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day, whatever you call in the middle of the week. We've made half the week gone, and we have just half of the week left to get through. So welcome to Rick's Room. I'm glad that you're here with us. I'm your host, Mr. Rick, and we're here in the room just kind of chilling. If you're on your way to your room, or if you haven't gotten to your room yet, or you are in your room, whatever it is, make sure that you get your adult beverage ready and hang out with us here in the room as we discuss some interesting topics, as we normally do in good fashion in Rick's Room. Check us out here on iHeartRadio.com. You can also check us out at IntellectualRadio.com. Streaming live for you here on Facebook. If you are tuning in to us on Facebook, I see you right over there. Y'all wave, say hello to everybody over there on Facebook. Yeah, what's up, Facebook? If you're tuning in with us over on YouTube, I believe YouTube is right there. What's going on YouTube at IntellectualRadio.com. Thanks for joining in. We appreciate you joining in with us. And if you happen to be live listening with us on Spreaker, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate you hanging out with us for the next maybe about an hour, where we can go through some things that we want to talk about here in Rick's Room. So a couple of things I got to do here real quick before we get started. I want to make sure we get some bills paid, because, you know, if in the event I don't really pay these bills, then I'm not going to be able to. So it's really important to get the bills paid, and I want to thank all of the people out there that have been standing in line to support Rick's Room. You know, it's a blessing. It's a wonderful thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate all of you all that are looking to get your advertisements out here on Rick's Room. And if you happen to have a business that you want to get advertised, make sure that you send me an email to ricksroom2@gmail.com. That's RIXROOM, the number 2 @gmail.com. We'll get your business out there and get you started on your way. Or if you happen to have a business that's already going and you just want to keep it going, make sure that you hit me up and let me know. That is being brought to you in part by Mind Over Matter. That's Mom. Offers holistic health and wellness services that focus on healing the whole you and soul. Y'all might remember we had Corky on the show, Mr. Corky Henderson, the CEO of Mind Over Matter, hanging out with us a couple of times. But he's definitely making sure that their organization sponsors Rick's Room, and they have a promotion going. So check this out, y'all. Receive 20% off of Refreshing Moments Simply Clean Facial, or even 20% off of the Refreshing Moments back treatment from now until December 23rd, just by mentioning Rick's Room. You get 20% off during your initial correspondence. Make sure you let them know that I sent you. Check out what Mom can do for you at www.momonline.us. That's www.momonline.us. And make sure you type in US, because, you know, it's not .org, it's not .com, it is .us. Also, check out the Bureau Bar. The Bureau Bar is offering Sundays Affair with your host and startender, Mr. Jeff Timms. He's offering craft cocktails located at 75 East 16th from 3 p.m. until 12 a.m. They're running a happy hour from 3 to 5. And then we got soulful music stylings from Fathom DJ starting at 5 p.m. And enjoy even one of our other sponsors too as well, the Cookout on Wheels. From 6 to 9, they'll be serving up delicious food. Y'all know how the Cookout on Wheels does. We've been talking about them a couple of times. Make sure you check them out. They'll be in the building from 6 to 9 p.m. And if you happen to mention that Rick's Room sent you at the bar, you'll get half off that first round of drinks. So make sure you check out Sundays Affair. You like that, huh? You like that?
Oh, wait. I need this advertisement half off. Where?
Again, check out the Bureau Bar at 75 East 16th from 3 p.m. to 12 p.m. That happy hour is going from 3 to 5. You got the sounds of Fathom DJ starting at 5, and then the Cookout on Wheels from 6 to 9. Mention Rick's Room and half off your first round. Ladies, listen, we're talking about gender privilege tonight, right? So we want to talk to everybody. And ladies, this includes you. Ladies, are you interested in a new luxurious nail polish brand that's less harsh on your nails? Color Struck Polish is perfect for you. It's less toxic than some of your major market brands and doesn't leave the damaging effects of gel nails while offering 35 eye-catching colors. Find out more about the brand by visiting www.colorstruckpolish.com to find out which color strikes you. electric blue tonight for me, but it just didn't go with my outfit. So I decided
hot pink for me.
Really, hot pink. Okay.
Always.
Well, hey, whatever color might tickle your fancy, go ahead and check them out at colorstruckpolish.com. And I want to give a quick shout out to my buddies over at Fantasy Focused. Fantasy Focused is a weekly fantasy football podcast featured in iTunes, SoundCloud, Overcast, and Stitcher. Check out more of their great content at www.fantasyfocused.com or even on their YouTube channel at Fantasy Focused. Really great information and some insight. Listen, I don't really know much about fantasy anything, but Fantasy Focus has done a great job of teaching me about with the fantasy world and how to get involved with fantasy sports, and even giving some insight to some details about sports players. So definitely check them out. Fantasy Focus, some good buddies of mine that we work with actually. So check them out, fantasyfocus.com.
They're fantastic.
They really are. They really are. All right, so now that we've gotten through that, I want to make sure that I get a chance to introduce some great people here with me that have decided to stop by my room and hang out with me tonight and chime in on the conversation that we're having. Tonight, I'll let them introduce themselves. If you're viewing, they're sitting on both sides of me, so I can't say which one's to my left or which one's to my right, but I am going to get started with someone who is probably the reason that Rick's Room got started. Who really kind of gave me the opportunity to get out here and try this thing out. And ever since then, kind of got that bug going. And her show was a fantastic show. She's also part of the IntellectualRadio.com family. So I'll let her go ahead and introduce herself to the world, to all the Rick's Room fans that's out there watching. So go ahead, Miss Alicia.
What's up, everybody? This is Talisha, also of Sister Girl Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. And first of all, Ricky, I want to toast up congratulations to your show. I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you.
Shout out to the sponsors. You better get them sponsors, first of all. I just have to say that, yes. But I'm happy to be here. My brother, I'm proud of him. He's doing his thing, living his dream, pushing him, telling him he can do his best. And I'm here. And I'm excited. I can't wait.
Well, I mean, talk to me real quick just about, go ahead and take a sip because you cheers and had something to say. Make sure you get that in. And listen, since you got
I told him he better have a cocktail.
Right. She did. She actually yelled at me and said, we got some wine. Shout out to my aunt, Miss Phyllis Carter, who made sure that I had some Pinot Noir for us to celebrate or get this show going. But I'm gonna put you in charge of the comments here tonight because you got the phone right there. Yes, you got that. Right. Exactly. I got some things here. Yeah. But talk to us a little bit about your show and what goes on and topics that you talk about on Sister Girl Radio. Of course.
Sister Girl Radio is dedicated to the sisters. I cater to Black women, empowerment. I believe that no one is going to build us up like we do. We tear each other down, but we got to build each other up. So my show is dedicated to the Black woman. So a lot of shows are dedicated to Black women. It's not all male bashing. I have doctors coming on and financial advisors coming on and just show you how Black women rock. That's my main focus. And we had fellas on. Ricky was on there. We did a battle of sexes. So, we mix it up. But that's my heart. My heartbeat is to build up Black entrepreneurs and women and show that we can be united and not just tear each other down like they give us that image. So that's my brand.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Well, definitely check her out. You're airing every other Sunday.
Yes. Check out Sister Girl Radio on IntellectualRadio.com every other Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, the plug.
Exactly. Check her out.
Shout out to the 19 viewers we have on live. Send your comments and I will read them off as Ricky asks me to.
That's right. I'm putting her in charge of the comments. And then, so I got another guest to introduce, someone who I've been working with here. What would we say for about the past year
and a half.
About a year and a half. Yeah. So he reached out and said, "Listen, I want to jump on your show tonight. It sounds like a great topic. I want to be a part of it." And I'm always about making sure that we have, a diverse conversation and a diverse panel for the conversation. And listen, Rick's Room is just all about that. Just some conversation to have around some issues that we need to talk about, right? So I'm going to let my good buddy here and colleague, Mr. Vlad, go ahead and introduce himself.
So I'm originally not from the U.S. I came to the U.S. about 20 years ago next year.
Nice. Has it been really? It'll be 20 years next year?
20 years, yeah, 1998.
Nice.
In April. So it's been an exciting couple of years. And, despite coming over at a young age, I still feel torn between the two countries in a sense. And I feel like it's a good mix. I started working with Rick about a year and a half ago. And he finally invited me to the show. I've been bothering him for so long these days. And I guess must have finally gotten to a point where he's like, okay.
He really did.
So
he really did. It's only been 2 shows too. And he was just like, hey, so when can I get on the show?
Yeah, but besides that, I grew up in Chicago. I went to school in the East Coast and came back for work.
Now, where in the East Coast did you go to school?
American University in Washington, D.C.
D.C. Yeah. Great school. Well, listen, I'm glad that we can finally get you on the show. I'm glad to have you on the show. This is going to be a great time. Thank you very much for coming by, swinging by Rick's room and hanging out with us tonight. So like I said, y'all know it's the middle of the week. So what do we got to do in the middle of the week? We got to do the midweek toast, right? So we're going to do a real quick midweek toast. If you don't have your beverage, get your beverage ready because it's going to be a great show topic tonight. Cheers to you. Cheers to you. Cheers to both of y'all.
Yeah.
Mr. Earl, I wish you had one too. Y'all don't see Earl back there doing his thing, making sure that we sound great. We're looking good.
Earl can't drink. He got to operate the board.
Well, listen, Mr. Earl, next place I'm gonna bring you just a shot on the side. I don't know how much you were able to have, but shout out to Mr. Earl for making sure that we are looking and sounding good. A couple of quick updates. First and foremost, I want to make sure that we take a moment to send out our condolences. Right, our prayers to the families and friends and all of those the victims that were affected by the massacre that took place in Texas.
Absolutely.
You know, I know that it almost seems like this is the third show that I've had, and this is the second time that I've had to that I've wanted to send out my condolences to something that's taken place. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to have to say that, and I'm relatively new in this, but this is the second time. But we want to make sure that we send our thoughts and condolences out to the families out there in Texas that are dealing with, that massacre. So
if there's one place you should feel safe, it is in the house of the Lord.
That should be a place where you feel safe.
That's just crazy to me.
Exactly. Next up, I want to make sure that I dedicate this show. This show is an important show to me for one particular reason. I do think that this whole month is going to be a month that we talk about privilege. But this particular show, I want to dedicate to my cousin, who unfortunately has been fighting a fight for about 4 years, fought a really good fight for about 4 years, and decided that he was done fighting. My cousin Desmond Cunningham, who just recently decided that he was ready to go ahead and take that rest. And shout out to that gentleman who really taught me and taught family and friends what it means to really live life. You know what I mean? And make sure that, we only get one life that you remember at least. And he made sure that he fought and lived that life that he had to the best that he could, to the fullest that he could, and finally got his rest. So hats off to you, Mr. Desmond. Thank you for being the inspiration and teacher that you were to our family, to your friends. I took a look at his Facebook page, man. It was just kind of cool to see all the people that he touched and inspired and all of the good things that he did. You know what I mean? Hey, this life, this is all you get. So shout out and all of the best to my good cousin Desmond Cunningham. So with that said,
my deepest condolences, Ricky.
Thank you very much. With that, he was a great guy. So this show is for him. We're going to talk about tonight gender privilege. We got to get into a conversation about privilege tonight, because this whole month we're gonna focus on what privilege really is, what privilege, what we don't identify with privilege, what we miss when it comes to privilege. And it just kind of dawned on me because I had some friends while I was hanging out with some people down in Texas, actually in Austin. We were having a conversation. Shout out to the Cookout on Wheels, Miss Latasha Garcia, Mr. Steve Garcia, and the crew. We were talking about privilege, and we were talking about some of the things that you just don't really see because of privilege, right? You don't get the chance to identify, you don't get a chance to really acknowledge because it's privilege. That's really essentially what privilege is. So I decided that we should bring that to the forefront. We should bring that up and have that as a topic of conversation. So this month, if you're tuning in to Rick's Room, we're going to be talking about privilege in several different aspects. Tonight, we're going to talk about gender privilege and the privileges that we don't see versus the privileges that we might have to struggle against. And I want to hear from you. If you're streaming live with us on Facebook, again, go ahead and comment in the section. Talisha Red over here has got you. Feel free to also call in to 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953. 8953. Give us a call. Let us know your opinions, or maybe even share a story of some privilege that you've had to struggle against or struggle with in your upbringing. But the first place I want to tackle is in the workplace. So when we're in the workplace, right, we always feel like there's, right, because men get everything. Is that true? I don't I don't know if you all feel the same way. How do you feel, Miss Lady? Because you got a face that says the little, like you got something to say about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Women have to work twice as hard to get the same position and the same pay. So you already know. You don't want me to take the whole hour talking about that one topic.
Well, but I mean, so tell me about what your experience has been. I'm curious to know, because you're very opinionated, you're very perceptive. I'm curious to know, what has been your experience when it comes to.
I was talking to a coworker today about that. I'm like, now, and I said, as a Black woman and a woman, being Black and a woman, I'm gonna have to work twice as hard because I'm working as a woman and I'm working as a Black woman. So my mom used to tell me, you already got 2 strikes against you. So here I am coming in as a Black, trying to work my way up the ranks and trying to get myself. So guess what? I take my book home. I have to study extra because we have to work harder. So men, is just easier to them. It's just easier for them. They get more privileges. They can look more for promotions. A lot of people in my department are getting promoted, and the last 3 people were men. So it's just, we have to work harder, and that's true. We have to shine, unless you have even if you have a female boss, it's just we're just looked at as, sometimes I get that feeling like we can do the same job, but okay, we want to put a man in that position of management, or that a woman can't handle it. And it goes back to, a boss, she's looked at as the B word, but a man can just be a boss. Why can't we be, and I'm not going to use the word demanding, but want respect without being called out of our name. But if a man comes in a room and he commands respect, oh, he's just being a man, he's a boss. Mm-hmm. But if I do it, I'm not the same way. But no, I can be just like you can. Now, do I agree that some certain things women can do that men can't do? I do. But when it comes to education and doing a job, we can be just as efficient as you are. In the workplace, it's not looked at as that. Time. We got the whole time.
Listen, we got time to talk about it. We in the room.
It's true. And then, as being an African-American woman, being an African-American and a woman, it is kind of like I have 2 strikes against me. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I have to, I told the girl at work, I'm like, I'm going to work extra hard. They're not going to break me. They are not going to break me. So you just have to work extra hard. But yes, you guys do get privileges because of your gender. Absolutely.
So it sounds like what you're saying to me is that there is some extra added work that you got to put in that your male counterparts don't have to.
Of course. Throw in the fact that I'm African American. Don't leave that out.
I'm sorry. My apologies. So let's make sure that we couple that with being African American.
Because if it was me or you, you're the man. So you're the African American man. So you still trump me. Let's think about back to slavery. Mm-hmm. We were still under you. Come on now.
So I mean, you're right.
If we're gonna talk, let's talk.
You're right. So and it sounds like that's transcended all the way into
our culture. It ain't changed.
Right.
The chains are just off, but it ain't changed.
So if I'm in a setting where it's me against you in a particular position,
you would get it because you're a man.
Just because I'm a man. Well, I mean, but you know what? Go ahead, Val.
Yeah. I think I would tend to disagree on that. I don't think it's solely based. Excuse me. So, privilege is such a big buzzword these days, especially used in the media. There needs to be a distinction between 2 different types of privilege. One is genetic privilege, which you cannot control, whether you're born in a certain race, a certain gender, certain features, such as being tall and good looking.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, of course.
Right. I'm tall.
I was referring to
good looking, right?
But
the plus size models in the building.
Come on, represent.
Yeah, you can't. I would think if someone knew, or say you have privilege for something that you ultimately didn't decide, and if you can, I mean, if you do find someone who did decide they wanted to be a certain, type of person, then I would like to know them as well. They're probably not the most sane individual, but
maybe.
In a sense, you can't decide what genetic features you have. Now, that being said, that's genetic privilege. Some people are taller, faster, stronger, weaker, and are less prone to either genetic diseases or diseases in general. But there's also societal privilege, what you're referring to, because you're referring to how you need to work twice as hard because you are an African American woman, and especially because we live in a society where that's a societal norm that was established historically. based on the history of African Americans in the U.S. So the societal privilege, that very much exists, but they are artificial barriers as opposed to real physical barriers that cannot be overcome.
Well, but see, and here's where I would have to jump in and interject and say that would be a privilege that I don't think that you're cognizant of. I don't think that it's when you say that it's not a physical barrier, and I understand your point,
right?
But it is still yet a maybe not a physical barrier, but in a sense, it's created to be a physical barrier. You know what I mean? Like it's still a barrier that is perceived as physical because it's something that can be overcome. It can't be something that, you know, a physical barrier you can't change from your perspective of what you're saying.
Right.
But the concept that still is, I guess that's still there is that although it's not physical, it's still a thing that can be looked at as physical that you just can't overcome. So it looks like we have a caller, and at least don't know how to do the thing yet. You've been here like 5 years longer than I have.
It was usually set up for me, Earl. You should have had it set up. That's his technical issue.
Set it over there. So we're going to make sure we get right there to go in. Let's see who's calling in. Welcome to Rick's Room. Thanks for calling in. Who we got on the phone line?
You have Misha on the phone line.
Yeah, I knew she was gonna call.
Misha
yes.
called. So just a real quick backstory for any of you all who are watching. So Misha, Talisha, and I all went to grade school together. I'm still waiting on my cookies, my cinnamon rolls. Still waiting on it.
They are coming, sir.
Yeah, all right.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, Misha. I appreciate it. I'm sorry we couldn't have you on the show today, but talk to me about what you got going on here with this issue.
I knew she would call.
So, out that, in my opinion, like just an overlapping way to look at privilege is if there's a problem and it's not a problem for you because it doesn't affect you. So that's one way that I look at privilege. Like people be like, well, that's not a problem. Well, no, it is a problem, but it's not a problem for you because whether, as your guest was saying, genetically or societally, that issue or that struggle does not reach you. And that's a privilege. And some privileges we have control over and some we don't. And some overlap. Alicia was saying, I'll give an example as far as in the workforce. I work in social service and have for over a decade. And most of the people who do the labor in social service, the social workers, the counselors, the coordinators, are women. But when you start climbing the ladder of management, it becomes more and more male. And with that ladder becomes earning. For the people who do the work that make things happen, generally are paid less, more is demanded of them, and they're women. And that's a matter of fact. Because if you look, and if you look at education, most teachers are females. But then when you start looking at administration, you get more and more males. When you start looking at school boards, more and more males. So there needs to be, if you want to address your privilege, so you could say, okay, I can't help my privilege, but can you address it? So let's say, what efforts is the school board making, is management making to have a more diverse leadership, not workforce, leadership.
Right.
Because as long as leadership is making the force and they don't look alike, these classifications are going to stay in place.
This is why I love when Misha has comments to make.
Oh, Misha is awesome.
We talked about it on your show. Misha's just she really is. She is that thought process behind. But
I was saying that to a coworker. She was like, there are a lot of Black women that work here. I said, but none of them are in management.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're here because they have to meet a quota. But where the CEO, when they put up the picture of all the people that are in the CEOs and presidents and not only not one African-American woman, it wasn't one Black person. But like you said, when I look around where I am, yeah, we're here. But when you look on the board that we walk past every day, not one. So I totally agree with you.
And look at the body in general. Let's say we have Congress. The House of Representatives is way more diverse than the Senate. Okay.
Well, right. Yeah.
And then of course, as we clearly saw, the highest office, the presidency, is completely male through and through to the history. The people who make the laws that influence my body, my rights, look nothing like me, live nothing like me, and by design. And you're saying like the history, your other guest was saying like the history of African Americans in this country. It's the history of those in power in this country. It's not like people just, you know, it wasn't a cruise ship. They didn't come over and sign up.
Well, I understand.
You know? And so like, yes, and I would, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate and flip it. Women have certain privileges when it comes to having different needs met on an emotional level.
Oh, we're gonna address those. Yes.
Absolutely. Like, we respect a woman's right to cry and express herself in different ways when we do a man, and that's not necessarily fair or healthy.
Well, that was very similar to the last conversation.
Misha's here in
right,
spirit.
Exactly. That was definitely a conversation we had on our last show.
We're just gonna keep you on the phone. Let's just let her stay on the phone. Let's let her call in. She can just talk.
That's what people call in, and I appreciate you calling in too, Misha. Thank you so much.
Misha, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Misha.
Good night.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Misha. So she was absolutely right. There are other female privileges that we're going to get into that men don't get a chance to actually be a part of. But yet still, like she addressed, you know, Vlad, you wanted to make a comment on that.
Yeah, there was something that I really wanted to address, and that was the wage gap that Misha had mentioned. These days, that's being thrown around is 77 cents on dollar,
right, that
a woman earns compared to a man. And unfortunately, that statistic is wrong. So according to a labor study and a study by the American Association of University Women, that gap is actually only 6.6%. And in 2009, 2009. And so then in 2009, the Labor Bureau also determined that the wage gap, instead of being 77 cents on dollar, was in between 4.8% to 6% difference when accounting for all the different factors. And the way the 77 cents is calculated is you take the median woman, divided it by the median wage earned by a man, both working full time. But it doesn't represent occupation. It doesn't represent any of the other factors that really play a big part into it. So if you want to look down more into that, a Georgetown study said that the top 5 best paying jobs are in 1, petroleum engineering, which is 87% male, services 48% male, math and computer sciences 67% male, aerospace engineering 88% male, and chemical engineering 72% male. Dominated fields. And then the top 5 worst paying jobs are social services, 88% female, home services and community organization, 81% female, theology, 66% male, early childhood education, 97% female, and then counseling and psychology, which is 74% female.
But wouldn't that prove the point right there that
Clearly.
that you have certain industries that are designed for?
I do not believe that it does. So currently,
you just read the statistics and you don't believe that it does? I'm confused.
Not at all. So the difference between 5 worst paying jobs and the top 5 jobs are what the market dictates. So as much as we want to force higher wages and everyone have a better life, yes, I would agree. But because these 5 fields are the top 5 best earning fields, they're the ones that produce the most value to our society at the moment.
And they're dominated by men.
And I'm not saying that the bottom 2 don't give, if not equally, amount back to society, but they rely on charitable contributions and taxes as opposed to strictly market-generated revenue.
Well, let me interrupt.
So they are dominated by men.
But let me interrupt you for a second, because when we talk about that, and this is why I want to interrupt you, because I see where you're going. But what you're
so why are they dominated by men?
Well, what you're laying out, and my question would be, none of that has to do with any physicality differences, right? So what the statistics that you show are based on what the dominant gender is in that workforce, not what the dominant requirement gender is. You know what I mean? Like it's not a stance on I have to be this in this physical shape to be able to perform this job.
Right.
And the difference between men and women. It's just saying that you have these fields that are the most high paying and that are dominated by men, but just because they're dominated by men, not because there's a physical difference between the two that is required to perform the job.
Exactly. There's no barrier for women to study in these top 5 fields. Choice for males to pursue these fields more often than it is for females. And I'm
How
not
do you
saying,
know they're not pursuing it? They're just the ones that are being picked.
Because the statistics show that over 80%.
That wasn't my question. I said, how do you know they're not pursuing it? They're the ones that are being picked. No. Answer that. You're still not answering the question.
If there was an equal amount of men who were applying for the positions, it's also been proven. The man's gonna get it. It's also been proven that females are actually more than males are. And I can admit to that because it's a genetic thing. And on top of that, if you look at college, men, even if they are intelligent, do not have the ability to pass on intelligence to their children unless their partner is themselves.
Yeah, but that's not I don't think that's not a prerequisite in the job. In the job, that's not a prerequisite in the questioning or the interview process, right?
I believe that if there's an equal amount of applicants, if you look at pharmaceutical services, that's 48% male, meaning that 52% of that workforce is female.
Correct.
So that means that there's a lot of interest. Top five. That's number 2 actually in highest paying.
Okay.
But if you look at petroleum engineering, it's at 87%. So that means that only 13% of the total workforce in petroleum engineering, the highest paying job, is women. But if more women were to be engaged and see the potential value in doing that, I do not see any barriers, especially with the current laws that we have in place against workplace discrimination as well as application, that they wouldn't be able to dominate these fields as well and earn more than men and be more capable than men.
So, and I think that's a great point to bring up privilege too. And I'm gonna get to Gerald's comment here in just a second here on Facebook. But I think that brings up a great point about privilege when it comes to what we don't see as men, that's something that we have to fight against. For women, they see that on a daily basis. So their mindset is always and has been conditioned to having to fight against what statistics are there in a male-dominated society. Mr. Jerry said,
it's my job to read them.
My bad.
Clearly, how you gonna give me a job and then take it? Say you gonna take my job? I think the man gonna take my job.
Right, my bad. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. You appointed it to me, and then you gonna take it from me? I don't think so. Shout out to Gerald. He said women were told. See, I was told for decades the type of jobs that they could have. Wait, that's true.
Well.
And that's true but that is true. When women stepped out of the home back in the day, they were, that type of jobs. They were kind of like, well, I can see the husband being like, well, just go get you a little secretary job. Just get you a little, I don't believe the husband was like, go out and get you this great education and do all these things, because they didn't want her to have, she had education, that was power. Need me anymore. She don't have to rely on me anymore. The new Miss Independent thing. So I'm totally agreeing with that. That back in the day, women were told what they should do and what the profession they should go into by their spouses. Because back in the day, they were all housewives.
Right.
They relied on their husband. So the man's gonna make sure whatever she goes to do won't exceed that. If she decides to leave, $3 an hour, she ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say go out and be an electrical engineer.
But
I'm serious.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that's not encompassing of all the powerful women that impacted history in a very big way.
How long have you been here? You said again?
20 years.
I love myself.
But he's grown up in America.
And I'm saying
he's got a powerful
Queen Elizabeth, where you have all these powerful women who do play an active role.
It might just be an American thing. It might just be a USA thing.
I'm talking about where we living in. I'm talking about gender privilege in the U.S. of A.
US, right?
Yeah. I have not lived on any other continent but here.
Well, let me switch topics for a second and get out of the workplace for a minute, because we can go all day long about the workplace.
Sure could. Right? I told you. It's gonna be...
and listen, and Vlad's been over here doing his homework. Like I'm sitting there going.
He's trying to hold his own. I give you props. You tried, baby. Your ship is sinking, but you tried. I give you effort.
He has a great voice. He makes sure to write them all down.
He wrote
But listen, so let's talk about gender privilege in society. All right, let's talk about how you can get away with certain aspects of your gender. As Misha
I wish someone would hold the door open for me.
Oh, but listen, I'm that one that if I hold the door open for you, you don't say thank you, I'm mad. But that comes from either gender. I don't care if you're a male or a female. But when we talk about a gender privilege in society, and Misha said it, she mentioned as a woman you're allowed to cry, you're allowed to show your emotions, you're allowed to express your feelings. But as a man, I can't.
You're also allowed to spend time with your children after giving birth. whereas men, you can't.
There's paternal.
No, there is paternal for men as well.
For some
You can take up
companies,
to a
but
year.
it's less standard than it is for maternity.
That is true.
That's because you don't take
true.
it. That's your fault.
But,
It's there.
no.
Well, no. Now we can't say that because that's a societal norm.
It is,
give them
right,
6
exactly.
weeks,
No, you're
though.
right. Not all companies do.
No.
Not all companies give out paternal leave.
Some of them give them out for pets.
Let me
too.
know.
Oh, listen, we're not doing that. So, but I think with the millennials again, shout out to the millennials. Get a chance to kind of dictate the workforce and the requirements that are wanted. Whereas prior to, there wasn't a lot of that. Paternal leave is a thing in most companies that are trending towards being,
Right.
trendy, I guess. But it's not a thing across the board.
Right.
But when it comes to some of the things that we don't get a chance to as men express or live out, because as a woman you get a chance to do it. So I think there's a difference there too, right? What are some of the privileges you get?
I can't wait till you finish talking. You ready?
Come on, let's go. Run it.
About multiple sex partners. If a man, okay, let's go back to high school. If
Wait a minute, hold on, let me get my life together. She went, yeah, get it.
I'm not gonna share my personal business, but let's say a person was a virgin for a long period of time. A woman, okay, that's good. She's being pure or whatever. But if a guy came out and was like, man, I'm 18 and a virgin, his boys would make fun of him because we are looked at as supposed to stay pure and whole. So I'm like, hey, Rick, I meet you. Yeah, I've been with like 30 guys. You'd be like, oh, she out there.
Look, in my current lifestyle, I'd be like, yeah,
right. But know what I'm saying? We're tainted. We're ran through, we're used.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had 40, 50 partners, oh, you the man, y'all high-fiving in the locker room. Why can't a woman be sexual and be privileged? Not saying that 30, you might want to slow down, sister, but what I'm saying is, why
so?
But why?
Why would she have to slow down? That's a self-limitation on your own gender.
I think a man should slow down too. I don't think that, I think we should choose wisely, especially with the things that are going on in this day and age, that who we lay down with at night. And it's not just because she's a woman.
And that's true.
What I'm saying is women are looked at as we're supposed to be pure and whole. And if we say that we're actively sexually active and we're having multiple partners, we're can I say slut? Not out there.
You're good. Early pay attention. You're all right.
But Ricky, but for real, you get what I'm saying?
No, you're absolutely right. But why
you
you talking
guys
about
are
that?
allowed to.
I completely agree.
You agree? Wait a minute. Ding, 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 ding.
No, I think it's a terrible double standard.
It is.
Well, but
it comes from the religious connotations in the West.
Yes.
Because of Christianity,
getting started on the differences in religious.
No, I agree.
That's another one. I'm getting to religion later.
But the core Judeo-Christian beliefs is that the woman is supposed to stay pure, and technically the man is supposed to stay pure as well. Well, in some, not.
Right.
I mean, before in Judaism, yes, but not in Christianity. But that's a theological subject we won't get into. But in all seriousness, though, I do think that it is an issue that if a woman is called, promiscuous for having multiple partners, but yet a man is called a pimp and a player, that it has this double-edged sword. You can't have one or the other. And men want it, but then they also turn around and chastise women for it. So
they won't take her home to mama. They won't take her home to mama.
They want a woman that has been.
But if you want it, then just stop chastising people.
Wait, yo, real quick.
Okay.
Misha jumped in and said,
listen,
she's making sure her comments know, but she said women and men, and I like this, women and men uphold sexually oppressive double standards, and she's absolutely right.
And you know what? I'm going to say something on the flip end. I have mentally thought that to myself too about my personal sex life, that I don't want my number high. Why do I think that? Because society teaches me that I'm a slut or a whore if I have multiple partners. So I'm guilty of that myself. But then I had to wake up and realize who I was, that I was Felicia and I can do what I want to do when I want to do.
Come on, being grown.
So when I woke up and realized who I was, it just changed my mind. Not trying to say like I didn't went and just listen to what I'm saying.
Right, we gotta put your business out there, but I got you.
But what I'm saying is my mind was societal.
Sure.
If my girlfriend's like, I've been with 30 people, I'm like, dang, but why can't she? That's her choice. That's her body.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when a man say it, it just rolls off my back. So I'm guilty of it too. But once I changed my way of thinking, Why did I think that? Because of society.
Well, society does that. And listen, if you all are out there, again, listening to us live, if you are streaming with us live here on YouTube or Facebook, definitely give us a call in, 708-223-8953. Let us know your comments. It looks like you got a lot of things to share here on Facebook Live. I'm trying to keep up with all y'all. Misha's dominating the conversation out there, though.
Misha, you should have came. You've been on here so long.
I know, right? and Shauna's been trying to get her comments in, too. Miss Shauna Moore, can't say a full government name. She gets mad at me, but she got a couple of good points to celebrate some of the things that you were saying too, Talisha. But listen, we definitely want you to call in too and share your comments. Again, 708-223-8953 is the number to call in. We're talking about gender privilege here in society and the difference in right now it seems to be just in the sexual realm between partners and what's allowed and what's
if we were going to
shunned.
move away from, I guess, partners, I want to address one issue that is kind of to male privilege, is if that's what you're going to call it. I would call it a male societal norm in a sense.
But that would be privilege.
But it could be interpreted
privilege
as such, yes. But I would consider it just a societal norm because, it's constantly changing. But if you look at the ability to, dominate or put their decision up front, that in front of women and whatnot, and where it's okay in some instances, for example, for a man to think that if he berates a woman or calls her evil stuff or beats her, that's socially acceptable, and some women just take it. And I struggle to understand with is, I guess maybe I was just brought up right, but men who mistreat women.
Wait, did you say brought up right?
Yeah, because men who mistreat women don't realize themselves that, well, it was probably ingrained in me, but that they didn't come out of their father. That's for, damn sure. They came out of their mother.
Clearly.
So what baffles me is how these men, have that mentality. It must be something that stems from either insecurity of their own masculinity, where they feel the need to take it out on women or, others. But to treat a female with disrespect just because of her gender, I think is a little bit, ignorant in a sense, or someone who wasn't raised right or educated right.
I agree.
Understand that, hey, you came from a woman, so why are you mistreating women?
What did Pac say? We all came from a woman, got our name from a woman. Yeah, shout out to Tupac. No, I'm a big fan, but I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. But you know what? I think that is a maybe learned behavior, perhaps, maybe,
and societal
behavior.
I don't know if it's learned as much as you're literally born with it.
Well, I mean, not necessarily.
I mean, I don't know any test tube babies, but
right. See, I can't do this with you. All right, so we got society now covered, and listen, I know there's a lot of things that we could talk about in society, privilege as well. But when it comes to, I think that there is a privilege though that you and I we take for granted. But I also think, Talisha, that there's a privilege that you all get, and I'm going to speak for a community that doesn't really get opportunities to get their voice heard.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a privilege of being a woman. Like, for example, if any event, I like to use this example when it comes to things that y'all can get away with, that we can't get away with.
Tell me.
So you get pulled over by a police officer, 9 times out of 10, if it's a male police officer, y'all can cry, y'all can do a couple of things, just feel kind of, or show just a type, and then get away with a lot more than we can as men.
I agree. There's a story. Me and my friend, we were in the car. We were in the city, and the police were called, and I'm like right there. He inquired of his license, but didn't ask me for mine.
Mm-hmm.
Now your friend's a little special, so I might have just murdered 10 people.
Right.
But he didn't. Why? Because he was a black man. He didn't ask for my ID. What if I was a criminal or had a warrant?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I agree. Oh, we play off that. Oh, officer, I've done it. Oh, officer, I was just speeding, and and I didn't know what I was doing.
Every time.
I didn't have my seatbelt on. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Again,
come back. Oh, you were just so nice and sweet. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure that the police officers out there know that y'all got our support as long as you all are doing the right things by the community. Thank you so much for what you do.
They were doing their job.
And we appreciate it, but I just need to know. I need to know how come women get off with it too before men do. But listen,
or when 3 women show up at a bar and the bouncer lets them in, but 3 men show up at a bar. And
we're not. Listen,
go.
Because they're not coming to see y'all. They coming to see us.
Listen, that's why I go to Boys Town. But listen, Mike Rosenwinkel said, "Why are men judged if they don't volunteer to pay for a date?"
Let me tell you something about that.
Wow, come on, Mike Rosenwinkel. Yeah.
Okay, I agree. Take a man on a date. I agree
That's
with
what he said. He said he wanted to know, why are men judged if they don't volunteer to pay for a date?
This is my thing.
It's a societal norm.
No. Look. Okay, 2 things I'm gonna say on that.
All right.
First, it is okay to take your man out on a date. If you ask me out, that is inquiring that you want to take. If me and you met and I say, yo, Rick, let's go for a drink. I'm at, when I get to the bar, I'm gonna pay for your drink. So I feel like if you want to take me out, that's your way of initiating that you want to take me out. Now, women, do I agree that you need to listen to Usher, trade places, and cater to your man? Absolutely. However, I think on the first date, the man should pay if he said to Alicia, can I take you out?
But I mean,
and if I want to take Ricky out, it's my treat.
Hey,
but it's also
let me know when you want to let me know. When you want to let me know, take
men
me
have
out
to ask women first.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
It's a societal norm that men have to ask women first.
2000, they're gonna Snapchat and they're gonna meet at Starbucks.
Well, yeah,
Come on
true.
now, not now. Come on now. Not they go on Facebook Live, and by the end of the day, they at the mall.
Bumble.
Nah, it ain't no.
Bumble's actually the opposite.
It's no more walking to your
I know, wait,
house.
but you know what? No, listen. But when it comes to that, speaking of privilege and gender, different roles, I guess in Bumble, yes, I think it's the woman has to respond.
Yeah, the woman is the first one who has to initiate the conversation.
But it's really intriguing that when you have the same gender connection on Bumble, that's not a case. And
what is Bumble?
Bumble?
Bumble. What is Bumble?
It's like Tinder.
But the woman has to be the first one to respond.
Right, the woman has to respond.
No offense, Ricky, but is that a kind of site?
No. Wait, what does that mean? Go ahead and say it. It's fine. Is that a what kind of site?
When we talked about that on my show, you were like, they whispered.
See, I told you they whispered. It always happens.
I don't want to be offensive.
You're not offensive.
Is that a word should I use? Is that a dating site for men that like
seeking men? No.
Okay.
It's actually it's a dating site for strictly
nobody.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay.
So I just look at him for guidance on what to
say.
Yeah.
Bumble is like Tinder. Bumble is actually, I think Bumble is like a little bit better than Tinder.
It is.
But Bumble is
personal opinion. The quality.
Have you been on Bumble?
Yes.
How do you like Bumble?
I like it more. I don't have to.
So you on Bumble and Tinder? You got both apps.
Here's the thing. On Bumble, I have to do less work. All I have to do is swipe, and then the woman has to initiate the conversation in order for there to be a match within the first couple of hours.
Oh, so you like that? So she has to initiate. You like that?
No,
exactly.
He initiates the interest,
and then
but she has to respond. Okay. If she doesn't respond, then it goes nowhere.
No. Okay. Right, but you can't send the first message.
She has to.
I'm sorry. I've been
you know
using
what?
Bumble
I think they did that because men be sending personal pics they shouldn't. I think that's probably a admin type.
Yeah, but to be quite honest, you'd be surprised the first messages you got.
Have you ever went on a date off of Bumble? Okay.
Yes.
Did you ask her out?
Well, yeah.
Well, then everything went right.
It did, but I didn't have to be the first one to initiate.
But she should take you out sometime on your 13th birthday.
I'm so glad I'm off the market. I don't have to do this anymore.
He's just young. Look how weird.
I'm off the market. I don't have to worry about this 12, anymore.
Clearly, yes, he is off the market. I just want to shout out to being off the market. Yes. Oh, look at him smiling, y'all. So in love.
Yo, I just sent that song to him the other day. He was like, "Who is this?" I was like, "Oh, it's cool." But listen, so I think
I had fun. It's over now.
Well, normally my good friend Mr. Earl puts up. Oh, see, you're gonna wait till 3 minutes for me to get all the way through. I've been waiting for the 10-minute mark. Good thing I have this laptop. Listen, I want to thank both of my guests, Miss Talisha Red here in the building with me, Mr. Vlad Petrovic coming out. Thank you so much for being here. Just real quick, we want to make sure Mind Over Matter. Make sure you check them out. www.momonline.us. Check out their promo, 20% off for Refreshing Moments, Simply Clean Facial, and 20% off Refreshing Moments back treatment all the way up until December 23rd just by mentioning Rick's Room. Check out Jeff Timms over at the Bureau Bar for Sunday's Affair with the smooth stylings and sounds of Fathom DJ starting at 5, and then that delicious food by my good friends over at the Cookout on Wheels. They're going to be there from 6 to 9. Make sure you mention Rick's Room at the bar to receive half off your first drink. And then, ladies, make sure you're checking out colorstruckpolish.com for that color that strikes you on your nails so that you look fabulous when you step out on the weekend or while you're at work so that you don't get gender privileged something, I don't know. And check out Fantasy Focused and all the information that you need at Fantasy Focused for your fantasy teams. It's been a pleasure here in the building. Thank you for tuning in at Rick's Room. Check us out again, IntellectualRadio.com, iHeartRadio as well. If you check out the podcast at Intellectual Radio Talk, check out Rick's Room. And then Talisha Red, she's got her show every other Sunday.
I'd like to go ahead and plug me. I'm Sister Girl Entertainment on Facebook and Sister Girl Entertainment on Instagram. Check me out every other Sunday on IntellectualRadio.com. Sister Girl, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Had a great time. Thank you.
And lastly, I want to make sure that any of you all out there, one of our last sponsors wanted to make sure that co-parenting is something that people are paying attention to and being a part of. If you have to be a co-parent, make sure that you're getting your resources out there too, and looking for some ways to do that. So if you check out ConsciousCoParentingInstitute.com, they can give you some ways to ensure that you're being the best co-parent that you can be. Shout out to the co-parents that are out there. And then last but certainly not least, I gotta pay a tribute or give a real quick shout out to the production team, Mr. Al Young, that's back there, one-man team, making sure that all of our notes are here, making sure that everything that I need is sufficient and ready to go, efficient and accurate. Thank you, Mr. Al Young, for what you do, Mr. Al Young III, making sure that we're sounding good here on Rick's Room. Make sure that you check us out every Wednesday here at 8 p.m. on Intellectual Radio, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and YouTube. Rick's Room is where to go. I think we got Day to Day coming up. I'm trying to just give me the so I get a cue so I can make sure that they know that Day to Day is coming up next with her show. So make sure you tune in. It's been a pleasure, y'all. Thank you for tuning in with us. Happy Hump Day. Cheers.
We out. Cheers.
We out.
Great show, you guys.